All right, welcome back. Now that we've assessed our patients and we've come up with a nursing diagnosis, now we're going to start working on outcomes. Where do we want to go with this? You can't reach any destination if you don't know where you're going. So first we're going to identify the expected outcomes. What do we really want to happen as we care for this patient? When you decide that you're going to make an expected outcome, you need to individualize it to the patient, because each patient is going to be unique. They're going to be different. They're going to have their own cultural norms. They're going to have their own socioeconomic factors. They're going to have their own values and belief systems. So you have to really identify your outcomes to your patient, or they're not going to go anywhere. The next thing you have to do is you have to make your outcomes realistic and measurable. If that patient's been in bed for the last 5 years, a realistic goal is not that they're going to be walking in 3 months. That ain't going to happen. When you do make a realistic goal, you have to make it measurable. What's going to happen by when? Set a time frame to it. And we're going to talk about, you're going to have short and long-term goals. But for right now, just know that it has to be realistic. This really needs to be something you're expecting to happen, not just what looks good on paper. And measurable. How are you going to know when you got there? And include a time frame. You want to have some long-term goals. What are you going to be doing in 3 months? Well, that's great. I know someone that's got a 10-year plan of buying a $300,000 house without any loan. She just wants to have that much money and go buy it in 10 years. That's an awesome goal. Just great. If she doesn't have some weekly, monthly, yearly goals to get there, she's not going to be there in 10 years. If every week she spends every dime that she makes, 10 years from now, she's just going to have 10 years worth of weeks where she spent everything that she made. She's never going to get it. Same thing with your patient. If you don't have short-term goals to help you get to your long-term goals, you're not going to get there. So you need both long-term and short-term goals. The short-term goals, you're talking a week, a month, no longer than that. Long-term goals can be 3 months, a year, even more than that. But those short-term goals need to be exactly that, short-term. So now you've got your goals. Now you know what's going on. You've assessed your patient. You've planned out your diagnosis. You know where you want to go to. Now you need to plan on how you're going to get there. So first thing you have to do is establish your priorities. What's the most important thing? You need to develop your outcomes. Set time frames for them. Identify your interventions. Okay, this is the goal. This is the time we want that goal to be done by. What am I going to do to get from here to there? How am I going to make that happen? You're not going to make anything happen. How are you going to empower the patient to reach that goal? And then you're going to document your plan of care. So the things that you do the most are way down the line. It's not just, I'm going to walk in and decide what I'm doing today. All these other things have to come into play first. A lot of critical thinking, a lot of clinical reasoning before you ever get to those interventions. That's why you do so much, even in the CLSs, about rationale. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Because you have to make these decisions. And if you don't understand the rationale, you're not going to make good decisions. So now you're going to do implementation. That's your next step in your nursing process, is implementation. Now you're going to look over your planned interventions. You're going to schedule and coordinate the person's total health care. You don't get to do everything. You're not expected to do everything. But all this stuff has got to happen. So who's going to be doing what, and when are they going to be doing it? We're kind of the hub usually. We're kind of the coordinators of everything. We make sure that everybody knows when their entrance and exit light. We're like the stage directors. Everybody has to know when they need to come in and play their part, and when the next person is going to come in and play their part. So we coordinate that. We cause that to flow so that the patient gets optimal care, because it's always about the patient. So we're going to collaborate with other team members. We are going to provide the interventions that we can provide. Some things we're going to be able to delegate out. If we do delegate them out to a nursing care assistant, we have to supervise them. We have to make sure that what we think is being done is actually being done, and that we get the feedback from that so that we know whether or not it was effective, if there's any problems, if there's any difficulties. But if you try to do everything yourself and don't delegate anything, you're not going to get it done. You also need to remember that the client is a part of the team. So you need to counsel the client, counsel their family, make sure that they understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, why is it important, why do they need to do that anyway, what do they need to record, what do they need to write down and get back to us. And if they're clients that require continuing care, they're going to need more than the care that you can give them at the level that you're at. You need to make sure that you see that they are referred to that continuing care. And of course, nothing's done until you document. So you need to document the cares provided. If you don't document it, it wasn't done. I know you all know that. You've recited it to me. And then our final step is evaluation. Now you're going to look back at those established goals and say, did we get there? Evaluate the client's condition and compare what actually happened with what you expected to happen, with what you wanted to happen. What was the client's goals? So now you need to summarize the results of the outcomes. What went well, what didn't go well? Did they meet their goals? Did they exceed their goals? Did they almost but not quite meet their goals? And then that's going to take you right back to the beginning of the nursing process. Because now you have to look at, well, if they didn't get their goals, if they did not reach those goals, why? What happened? What was overlooked, or what difficulties came up that we really weren't expecting? Then you have to look and say, okay, what kind of corrective action can we do? What can we do next to make this work out well? And update your plan of care. And then you're going to document document your evaluation and any modifications that you made to the plan of care. So you see, you've come right back to assessment whenever you started looking at, okay, did this work or did it not? So it's really a vicious cycle, but it's not vicious, it's awesome. And it continues to spiral the patient upward toward health. It's a continuing thing. Sometimes you get partway through an intervention and realize it's just time to evaluate because this is not working. We don't have to wait till the end of the week or the month or the 3 months to see whether or not this is going to work. I can see right now we're not going to climb over this bump. We have to work in a detour. So that's all the steps of your nursing process, and I hope that you've learned that there's more to it than you originally thought, and that you'll be better prepared to go out there and begin taking excellent care of your patients. Have a blessed day. Enjoy.